Hi, I'm Daniel with eTrailer, and today we're going to take a look at, I'm going to show you how to install the B&W Turnoverball Underbed Gooseneck trailer hitch on our 2018 GMC Sierra 2500. Now, the coolest thing about this kit is you can actually turn this ball over, and unlike a fifth wheel hitch, you can now get full access to your bed. So maybe you're working during the week and you're throwing sheets of drywall in here. On the weekends, you can flip this over, hook up your camper, and hit the campsite. Now let's get into the weight ratings of this hitch. So you have a vertical load limit of 7,500 pounds, and that is the amount of weight pushing down on the ball. And then you have a total towing capacity of 30,000 pounds, and that is how much you can tow your trailer plus whatever's packed inside of it. Now do always check your owner's manual and go by the lesser of the two numbers and tow what your vehicle can handle. Going back to that flush design, these safety loops are spring loaded, so when you're ready to tow, you can use them like that, and they'll pull back down when you're done, and it'll give your bed back. Now, if you're somebody who has a fifth wheel trailer and a gooseneck trailer, or you plan on switching in the future, then this setup's going to still work because you can pull this out, and this is actually compatible with the B&W fifth wheel companion. So you can just slide this in the middle and tow around your fifth wheel trailer. And this ball is a standard 2 5/16 for your gooseneck, and this kit is compatible with 8-foot beds and beds that are shorter than that. As far as the install goes on this kit, the B&W is proven to be a really good quality kit. I've installed other brands, and this one by far is the easiest. Now, by no means it is that easy. It will take you most of the day, and there's a lot of places that's hard to torque. So if you don't have the time or tools to do this yourself, then feel free to check out our dealer locator. But if you're looking to tackle it yourself, follow along and I'll walk you through it. First off, we already got the spare tire removed just to have more working space, and now we're going to go around to the sides and get that wheel well liner removed as well. There's a ton of fasteners in this wheel well liner. I'm going to use a T15 Torx bit and get these all removed. There's going to be 2 right here, and then most of the rest are going to be going up above in this kind of pattern. There's also going to be 2 up into this plastic piece. I'm going to take these out as well. That's just creating tension on it. It'll make it easier to come out. And now we can get this removed. Now this is just going to give us more working space so we can slide our cross members into the frame. And this may be a little difficult to get removed, but just kind of work at it. Work your way up. And it is really tight up top here, so you may have to go at it on both sides. And once you have both sides loose, you can just pull down and out, and that will release the top. And we are going to take the liner out on both sides, but on the passenger side here, there's going to be 2 bolts that go down into the frame. They're a 13mm wrench. I'm going to take both of these out while I'm here, because we need to take these down anyway, because these are securing the heat shield. And now we can mark the spot where we're going to drill our 4-inch hole for the gooseneck. And now there's going to be specs in the instructions for 8-foot beds and for beds that are shorter than that. And if you do have a spray and liner, that will add thickness to the back of your bed, so just keep that in mind when you're putting your measurement down. And before we start drilling, you want to center it on the truck as well. So I'm just going to wheel well to wheel well and get this centered up. Take a center punch and get that marked. I'm going to start the pilot hole with a 1/4-inch drill bit and then open it up to the 4-inch hole saw. Now I'll use a file and clean up some of these edges. I'll use a black paint marker and clean up all this bare metal. Just paint this over just so this doesn't rust in the future. Now I'm underneath the vehicle, and there's going to be 2 more fasteners that are securing this heat shield. So I'm going to take these off as well, and they're up above the frame, so I just got a ratcheting wrench here. It makes it a little easier. And if you have an electric ratchet, this can work as well. And this back one's going to be in the middle. Now I will take this and just set this to the side. This is where we're going to be sliding our cross members into our frame on the passenger side. As you can see, it's hitting this flange, so we're going to have to give this a little trim to get this to slide in. And I'm just going to make a rough outline of where I'm going to cut. And from experience, I just know that this is going to be a little bit larger than the instructions say. And you can cut this out with a variety of different things. I'm going to use an oscillator today and get this trimmed out. Now we can slide our crossmember in place. You just want to make sure these holes are facing the tailgate. And I'm going to put a bolt in the second to last hole near the driver's side. I'm going to put that in there, and then they give you a rubber O-ring. This is just going to secure this bolt in place. And this is because the gas tank is on that side, and this is going to be really hard to get to after the fact. So it's a nice touch they did there. And now I'll slide this in. Just want to make sure this is going to rest on the other side of our frame. I may have to go over there and persuade it. And this is our driver's side, and it's looking like we're on the other side, so we're all good. And now I'm going to scoot this to the front of the truck, so it's out of our way for when we put the other cross member in. Now I got our rear cross member, and they have holes that are threaded. And I'm going to take our bolt that comes in the kit and get these threaded through each one of these, just so we don't have any hang-ups when we put this in. Now I'll go through and clean out all these holes. A lot of times some of this spray coating can get stuck in those threads, so this is always good to make sure. Now that we cleaned all these out, I can slide this in, and the holes are offset to one side, so there's going to be a smaller space, and that's going to be down. So we'll rotate it once we slide it in, but those are going to be down towards the truck frame. So slide this across just like the other one. We can now rotate this in place, and you can do it by hand, but it makes it a little easier. You have some channel locks, and you can do it that way as well. And I'll slide this back about. Now we're ready to lift our center section in place, but before we do that, it's always good to have this set up. This is just going to hold the center section in place. It's just a couple of jack stands and some ratchet strapping. Now Joe's going to help me up in the bed here. Now if you don't have jack stands, then you can use a second person below and lift it into place that way as well. I have the center section, and you want to make sure the spring is going to be facing the driver's side. Now I'll lift this in place. Okay. Now this is a bit of a struggle. Getting it past this exhaust was the hardest part. You may need to lower down the exhaust with the rubber isolators. Might make it slightly easier, but once I get it past that, I just went that way in the back and got it eventually in. And Joe just simply hooked the center section up with the ratchet strap and put it tight to the bed, so now it's holding in place for us, and we can put our hardware in now. Now I'll get the front cross member, and I'll push this towards our center section. And that bolt we already put in on the driver's side is going to go through this end hole. Just going to make sure that lines up. Push this over evenly. And once that's through, we can put our hardware on. It's just going to be a split lock washer, followed by a nut. And now I'll put the rest in, and these are the 1.5-inch bolts, and the head is going to be facing the cab. So I'll get these put through the rest and get all the hardware on. Now I got our 2-inch bolts, and I'm going to slide our rear cross member up against our center section. And I'm going to get this bolt threaded. I'm going to put a locking washer and regular flat washer on these hardware. I'm just going to have to slide this over just a bit. And these are threaded, so we're just threading those into the existing holes. And now I'm going to do that for the rest of the hardware. Once you got all the hardware hand tight, you want to make sure that this crossbar is going to be parallel with your hat channel of your truck bed. So I just got a mallet and hit it to where I needed it. And now I can go back up top and tighten this all the way down. And up top here, I'm just going to tighten down our ratchet strap. And you do want to make sure that the square opening is going to be square to the bed. If it's off a little bit, you want to go back under and hammer it until it's square. But we're looking good, so I'll get this nice and tight. You don't want to do too tight for it to deform the bed, but just tight enough where it's up there. And these are our side plates. The one that's going to go on the driver's side is going to have the depiction of the handle. So I'll set that one to the side. This is going to be our passenger, and then this long piece is going to be facing towards the tailgate. So this will be fitting between our two cross members, and there's threaded holes in our frame that we're going to bolt onto. I'm going to clean these out first, just so we make sure those can thread nicely. I got some silicone spray. I'm going to spray that really good, and I got a wire brush. I'm just going to brush those threads. Now I'll grab our big bolt that comes in the kit. It's going to be silver, and I'm going to run these through as well. And I am using a 15/16 socket. I'm going to go back and forth just a couple of times, clean those threads out. Now I'll put our side plate in place. Get our hardware. I just have a locking washer and a flat washer. I'll get this threaded on. And just hand tight for now. And now I'll get the hardware in the top holes. I just got our 1.5" bolts. I'll put those through there. I'll put a flat washer, locking washer, and finally a nut on these. And this side we'll get the locking washer first, followed by the flat washer, and then I'll just thread in to the existing hole. Make sure that's lined up properly. And now we'll just repeat this on the driver's side. Now we can tighten and torque everything down. We're going to start with the bolts that go through this intersection. And once you tighten it down, you want to make sure this is parallel. Once again, you can take a measurement from this hat channel to this rear cross member and make sure it is parallel. I'm going to use a socket and wrench on the front bolts here. And it's going to be 19 millimeters. And the rear ones will only need just the ratchet. And you'll notice this one that's right by the spring, it's pretty tight, so I will have to use a manual wrench to get this tightened. And now we can tighten our side plates. First, I'm going to tighten the big bolts that go into our frame. And then lastly, we'll tighten the 1.5" bolts that are going into our cross members. And now I'll torque all these down to the specs and the instructions, and I will torque them the same order we tightened them in. And if you don't have a torque wrench at home, you can usually rent one at your local auto parts store, or we do sell them here at etrailer. Now we can put the handle on. I'm at the driver's side, and there's just going to be an opening. And I'm going to look through, there's going to be a smaller opening further in, and I'm just going to get this through both of those. I'll put the handle loop behind where we're going to put our bolt. It's a square opening for a carriage bolt. I'll get that put in, and then I'll put our nut on the back side here. And now I'll get this tightened up with a 13 millimeter wrench till it's tight. Now we're going to drill out for our safety chain loops. I got a 1/2" drill bit, and I'm going to go up into these. Now these other holes are pretty hard to get to make them straight. So what I did was I got an angle drill and I drilled up with a small drill bit, and now I'll drill the rest of the way through the top. Now the one above the exhaust on the passenger side, I couldn't get at all, so I will just measure that and drill that one from the top completely. And for this last one, I'm going to measure over 2 inches. I already measured it underneath and put a mark. And I'm going to drill with a smaller bit and then check underneath, make sure it's all in the center. And everything looks good, so I'll step this up to our proper size. And now I'll test these out, make sure they fit properly. And looks like they do, so we'll go underneath and tighten these down. And don't forget to paint over all this bare metal. And now we'll put the springs on all of our U-bolts that are going to act as our safety loops. I'm going to thread the nut on, and then using a 19mm socket, I'm going to just tighten it just so the end of the nut is flush with the bolt. And now I'll do the rest. Now the last thing to do is put our wheel well liners back up. Now there is going to be some trimming on the driver's side, but I'll show you that after I put them back up. And this is where our handle is, so I just need to cut a little notch out of the fabric. I'm just using a pair of tin snips, but you can use a knife if you have that. This is pretty thin. I'm probably going to end up using a knife on the top. Should get a nice clean cut here. Now you can put your spare tire back up, drop your ball in, and you're good to start towing. If you decide to get this kit for your truck, then please send in a photo of your setup. We'd love to see what kind of trailer you're using with this kit. Now that just about does it for a look at the B&W Turnoverball Underbed Gooseneck trailer hitch on our 2018 GMC Sierra 2500.